Today we're going to go from this to this. We're going to make a little snowman. And when I say little, I mean little. This guy's only 1.5 inches tall. I'll set this guy over here. Doesn't like to stand up very good. He's small. I just got a piece of this 5/8 dowel. It's better if you start out with a piece that's a little bit longer so you can get a hold of it and have room to work. I've made a few off of this piece. It's getting kind of short, but we'll make do. Also, just a note, really I'm a strong believer in wearing a cut glove while you're carving. I do most of the time. However, with this project, this dowel is a small diameter. It's 5/8 inch, and it's a little bit slick. And I've found the carving gloves I have, they don't have any kind of gripping material on them or anything. So I found myself, I had to really squeeze this piece hard, and it just wasn't very comfortable. So we're just going to go ahead and carve without a glove. Be very careful, know where your knife is going and where your fingers are, and let's take it slow. So to get started, like I said, this is going to be about 1.5 inches tall, and pretty much we're just going to have a hat, a head, and a bottom. Just simple. I'm just going to take a line around here for the hat. And we'll come down, make another mark where we want the head to be. Trying to get just a little project going here again. We might take on some bigger things again later, but I haven't made any videos for a while. So, and then come down here and make the third one. We might make that a little bigger. Go ahead and go around. We've got our lines on there. What I like to do is I'm going to use my Helvy rough out knife, just this little stiffer blade, and without putting a ton of force on it, I'm just going to kind of mark out these lines. Just going to push on the knife, put a little pressure and roll, and then let the pressure off, slide the knife, and roll it around. Of course, you want to make sure with every project, but especially if you're working on something like this dowel that is kind of a harder wood, you want to make sure you have your knives really sharp. I just have this power strap from chipping away. It makes it a lot faster, easier. I mean, you can do it with just a regular strap on a piece of leather on a wood, or some people use cardboard with some compound on it on a piece of wood. And whatever you have, it's just important to keep that edge, maintain the edge. Okay, now that I've marked that with the knife, with the rough out knife, I'm going to come back and just start cutting towards our score lines just a little bit. And again, because it's harder wood, just going to take thin little cuts. There's no sense pushing super hard and trying to get bigger pieces off. It's just a tiny little 1.5 inch snowman. We don't have to be in a hurry. We'll just go ahead and kind of go all the way around. You can see how it kind of right up to that score line stops. On the bottom two lines, we're going to do this from the top and the bottom. of that line. But when we get to the hat, up the bottom of the hat, we're just going to come up from the bottom of it. This is just kind of helping us mark stuff up. It doesn't have to be perfect when you're going around here, but it's just a good practice to try to keep your cuts as clean as possible. With this kind of a piece, a little project, you can kind of just push on the back of your blade. I do that quite often. Gives you quite a bit of power and control. And it's not even so much movement of my thumb, it's just the thumb on the blade, and then I just kind of squeeze my left hand, and it kind of puts pressure on the knife. Okay, and we have our, I guess we'd call that the neckline. That's marked out. And on this one, we're just going to go up from the bottom. Actually, one thing I forgot to do, this up here will be his hat brim, so this will be the bottom of it. And we want to go like maybe 3/16 of an inch, a little more than 1/8 of an inch anyway, and go around again, make a line for the top of the hat brim. And we'll start a little thick. That way we less chance of breaking it off, and we can always shave it down. You can't add it back on, but it kind of gives you an opportunity to put any kind of shaping you want on the hat itself or the brim itself. If you want kind of a wavy edge or angled up or down or whatever, start thick and then get it kind of roughed in and go from there. Okay, and we're going to do the same for the hat. Remember, we want a nice square edge on the brim of the hat, so we're only going to come up from the bottom for the bottom line, and from the top on the top line. We're going to leave the middle alone, just so we have a nice square edge. Otherwise, just do the same as before. Just nice little cuts up to the line. And just cut straight in to clean that up. Okay, do the same from the top. We don't try to take too much. Don't try to use too much force, because what will happen is you'll slip and you'll cut off part of the hat brim. A little bit at a time. If we're working on a bigger piece, we could be more aggressive, but not with this little guy. Just keep going. We'll go around, kind of turn this into a NASCAR race. Oh, look, they're going around again. Just start out with these first couple times. Make kind of longer cuts, I would say, I guess. Longer meaning a little less of an angle, so you're cutting farther up the side of these. Eventually we want to have kind of this ridge where we cut from, moving closer and closer together every time we go around. Okay, we'll go to the next section here. Just kind of some longer cuts up to that point where they meet. Okay, and then on the top, it carefully comes kind of straight down. See how that kind of popped loose there? I'm holding my thumb here, so I'm kind of limiting the travel. You need to be able to put a little force to make the cut, but you want to limit the travel. You know, the knife hits my thumb, and it's not really going to go any farther than that. That's going to help prevent going a little too deep and breaking off that brim. This will be pretty much just a knife only project. I have made some of these before where you use a real small gouge. It's actually this one right here I've used in the past. It's I believe this is just a number 11, yeah, a Vayner, and I think it's, I'm trying to remember if that's like a 2mm, 4mm. It's pretty small. I've used that before to kind of like dish out the top of the brim. Every once in a while, I just want to take a look at the top, make sure you're keeping it round, and if it isn't, make it round. Sometimes it sounds kind of basic or maybe oversimplified, but really sometimes things are just that simple. Like, how do you know how to do this? Well, you just cut everything off that doesn't look like a snowman. Or how do you make that round? Well, you look at it and you see it's not round. So if it's not round, you just make it round by cutting off where it needs to be. And here it's a little bit oval this way. At some point here we'll need to kind of pick where the front is going to be. Well, and on this side, we just kind of want to make our brim even. So top of that round and the width of the brim even. It's kind of what's keeping us on track here. Looks pretty good at that point for that stage, and we'll kind of just keep cleaning it up and working towards it. Okay, so now let's go back and talk about this a little bit. We've got these longer angled cuts we made here, and you can see the two ridges are coming together here and here as we bring those long cuts in. So now what we want to do is we want to start, maybe go half the distance on here and cut in a little steeper towards the center. That's going to help us get to the round shape we're looking for. You can see how that changes it from these long cuts that go from a third down to here, and then we're cutting those in half, and we're starting to look a little rounded on the bottom. We'll go ahead and do that here and here and here. Just go about half the distance and cut in a little steeper. Cut a little bit from both ways, get our chips out of there. We got that cleaned up. Let's take a look at, we have flat around here, and we have our starting around here, and this is a little bit of a sharp angle here, but the next thing we want to do is we want to kind of smooth away these lines, and that'll help make it look round again. Just kind of split the difference of that angle. It goes around and kind of takes away that sharp line. Anytime you can see a line going on there, just kind of cut it away. Doesn't have to be, but I think it looks a little bit better if you get this ball that ends up being the head, if that's going to be a little bit smaller than the one below it. Kind of have a problem started here. I've got the head curved in, and actually kind of hard to see it here, but the brim is angled down. It's not looking right, so we're gonna go up here and cut in straight and maybe even up a little bit. Flatten that brim out. Maybe one thing we can do to help that is on this one, maybe I mentioned leaving the brim thicker so you can manipulate it a little bit. We can do that, maybe make our hat a little smaller in diameter. That would maybe explain why it's sitting higher on its head. Or just go around the whole thing and take a little more off. And probably go ahead and take a little more off of this top ball. Size it a little bit more. If I bring the sides in, it won't look like the top is tapered up too much. You gotta be careful with proportions. This is such a small little guy that doesn't take much to have it not looking right. There, now he's kind of got a Lego head. So we're going to round that out a little bit. Do the top. We're going to not go up towards the hat, only enough to keep it round, not really to take anything else away up there. That's looking better. Sometimes the difference between turning out okay and not is just taking a second to really look at what you got. A little bit of a line across here. I'm going to soften up. Tiny little pieces of shaving off here. Get closer to the end. I think I've mentioned that in a previous video, where like the closer you get to a finished product, the thinner and smaller pieces you're cutting off, just to make those last little adjustments. There. That looks a little bit better. Hat's still sitting a little bit high, but it's not bad. I can live with that. Now, what we want to do here is we just got to make the bottom a little more round again. We got kind of that same line going across here. There we go. give it a look here. Cutting almost straight in to try to pull the bottom of that ball down. Okay, I think we got them pretty well cleaned up. Nice shape. Again, just kind of a basic little starter project. Get you back in the groove project. Fun little project. Just something to do. You just got to concentrate on making things round. Get the top of the hat round. And trying to get some proportions right. Give this guy a nose and a face. I think we'll just how about right here? I'm gonna pick this part as for the face. I'm just gonna make a little bit of a flat spot, not much, hardly enough to even tell that it's there. Can't really even see it, but kind of give it a flat spot. Okay, and we're just going to use a toothpick to make a nose, and we'll just cut off. We'll just cut some in the middle here. Just roll your knife on the toothpick. Break that in half. And what I do is it's got a drill bit here that's about the same size as the toothpick. I gotta find my flat face again. Right there. Told you it was hard to see. So we're just gonna go pick a spot for a nose, and go right in there. Don't have to go very deep. Just gives it something to hold on to, and make sure our toothpick fits in there. Not perfect. There you go. It's Pinocchio Snowman. Now we'll just take a little super glue. Drop it down in that hole. Push the toothpick in. Simple as that. Give that just a second to set up. And then we'll decide how long we really want the nose. You could leave it like that if you want. That's kind of funny. Anyway, we'll just make some little V cuts. You can just break it off there. Then we'll save that for a nose for another day. Okay, now that we got the nose glued in there and shaped up a little bit how we want it, let's go ahead and get him painted up. Wrap this thing up. I like to use this oil here. Seems to work pretty good. Just keep this old brush around just for the oil. There we go. We'll just give that a few minutes to dry off a little bit. Soak in, dry up. We don't have to wait for it to be completely dry before we start painting, but I'll be back when it's ready. Okay, now that the oil has had a little chance to soak in, and it's not completely dried up, but that's fine. It doesn't have to be. Let's go ahead and put some paint on this and call it done. So, in some acrylic paints, I got black, and this one's called Jack-o'-lantern. Figured that might look kind of like a carrot. And then Snow White, because I guess a snowman is made out of snow. Anyway, and we'll just grab I'm gonna grab kind of a smaller brush because this is kind of a smaller snowman. Okay, I don't remember where I found these at. Pretty decent brushes anyway. So for the black and for the white, we're going to water that down just a little bit. You can see I just got a piece of glass out of an old picture frame that we weren't ever using, so grab that. But let's put a little bit of water with the white, and maybe a little bit with the black over here, so it's kind of a watered down. I don't like using solid paint for most things. Get it thinned down quite well, mix in that water. And let's just start covering it in paint. That's pretty thick, but it'll kind of thin out. I like to be able to tell that it's actually wood and not just a 3D printed piece of plastic or something. This being a little harder wood and having that oil on there, it almost doesn't want to take it, but it'll soak in eventually. Just kind of get it covered. It's a little thicker there where I first put it on. We'll brush that around. So I'm just kind of going for a little bit of a transparent white. See the wood underneath. We'll get the top piece here. You see it's starting to soak in on the bottom part. At first it's almost like it's just sitting on top, but it will soak in. Basswood, it seems like it works a little faster, a little easier. Not sure what kind of wood this is. Just grabbed a dowel at one of the hardware stores. Sometimes I'll use dowel to piece together parts of a larger carving. Let's go ahead and well, before we get into the black, let's take a little bit of this orange jack-o'-lantern color and paint that carrot nose. Now, carving this small, a project this small, I'm not going to try to carve in any details for the eyes or mouth or anything like that. It just gets to be too hard to see it anyway. Kind of rinse that. I'm lazy, okay? I should go rinse out my brush. It'll be fine. There. So now I got the black that mixed up with the water, so it's pretty thin. But like I was saying, for the eyes and the mouth, that really super fine detail on something this small, it just, you can do it, but it's, I don't know if it's worth it. Put a nice black hat here. I've just been kind of slapping this on here, but when we get closer to where the black and white are going to meet, we want to take time a little bit. We want it to look like at least a 5th grader painted it. That's my goal. Okay, I'll get underneath the brim here. Getting away just a little bit of paint on the tip of the brush. I hope you guys enjoy this. I mean, my goal isn't to make a ton of videos and everything, but I enjoy sharing what I'm doing here with everybody. If you like it, let me know. If you want to get any suggestions or think I should be doing something different, I'd be glad to hear that as well. Pretty hard guy to offend, so you can just tell me what you're thinking. That white soaked in quite a bit, but I think I'm going to be okay with that. Just going to leave that, because we're not going to try to carve any details. We're going to use the magical Sharpie and just give them some little eyeballs here, chunks of coal, I suppose. Try to get them as even as you can, and then I suppose he's happy today. We'll give him a little, maybe not. A little smile. Sure, buttons, yeah. Mazel. How many buttons does a snowman have? This guy, I think he's going to have 2. There you go. You could do other things too. You could stick some toothpicks in for arms, or a little piece of bent wire, things like that. You can do as much or as little as you'd like. But this is just a kind of a beginner's project, or just a fun little thing to make. You can, maybe it's a stocking stuffer, maybe it's a tree ornament. These don't like to sit up very well on their own, and you can separate it from here and include it in another larger scene or whatever. Or I think I made one earlier this year and gave it to my daughter, and I just put an eyelet in the end, in the top of the hat, and put some wax string around there, and there you go. So anyway, thanks for checking it out, and go make yourself a snowman. Alright, we'll see you next time.